everybody. I'm Peter Trippi. I'm editor-in-chief of Art Connoisseur Magazine in New York. Delighted to be gathering with kindred spirits yet again. This is one of the fun aspects of my job, is to connect with artists and dealers and educators in the art world to talk about issues of common concern. I'm delighted to be joined yet again today by Katie Whipple, a great artist based in New York. There she is waving. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Peter. Great to be with you.
We're having fun with this, aren't we? This is our shared journey.
Yeah, it's been great. What a joyful thing to look forward to during the long days of quarantine.
These are long days, absolutely. We're going to lighten them up a bit, I think. Basically, just to remind everyone that we thought it's always good to connect with colleagues and find out what's going on with them, but especially in this very strange season, it's wise to hear what's on people's minds when it comes to issues of not just personal concern, but shared concern. And we'll talk more about that shortly. Let me begin just by introducing myself, and then Katie will say a few words about herself, and we'll go around the table and hear from the others. I'm Peter Trippi, as I mentioned before. I edit the magazine Fine Art Connoisseur. I'm also an independent curator of exhibitions, primarily to do with 19th century European art. Katie.
I'm Katie Whipple. I am a painter, mostly of flowers. So you can see behind me, I'm in my studio. I also teach at the Grand Central Atelier, as well as chair the development committee there.
Great. Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe Dufour. I'm a primarily figurative sculptor, and I studied in New York at Grand Central Atelier. I teach there occasionally, and right now I'm based in Northern California.
Great, welcome. Cesar.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am César Meza. I'm from Mexico. I'm a painter who most of the time works with figurative work and drawing and painting primarily. I'm also a student. I've been a part-time student at Grand Central Atelier in New York City for maybe about 2 years from now. So yeah, I'm still forming myself, but well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Glad you're here. And finally, but not least but not last, is Betty.
Hi, Betty Standish. I'm a program director at Wethersfield Academy for the Arts in Wethersfield, Connecticut. We're halfway between Boston and New York, and we have a wonderful little facility that promotes the classical arts. And we've had Katie teach a workshop with us, and many other fine artists from New York, Boston, and around the country. So that's the short of it.
Welcome. We'll hear more about your activities soon. Basically, I just want to remind everyone of some of the key questions that we had posed to the panelists before they gathered with us here. I'm just going to review them, and we can keep these in mind as we move through the hour. How are things going for you and your colleagues during the pandemic? Please provide specific examples of some frustrations and successes. What do you see on the horizon for you, your activities, and the field of contemporary realism next month, 3 months from now, and next year? And finally, how can the people watching this program make a difference to that future now? We mean not only donations to worthy nonprofits, but also direct support of what you do and what your colleagues do. So this is very much rooted in our times. This conversation would be very different in flavor 6 months ago. And I want to thank Katie for making the suggestion that we pull this together pretty quickly. You know, we've done it pretty fast, and I appreciate all of you jumping right in so that we could share ideas. So Dale, who's our wonderful technician from Streamline Publishing, is on the call, and I think that he is going to now pop up the slide deck, which we've all looked at. There it goes. That's great. We begin with Zoe's slides, and she'll tell us a bit more about what we're seeing here. Take it away.
Thanks, Peter. You can move to the next slide. This is Rubiaceae. It was a piece I made for a show that Katie curated, Flora Legion. And it was also kind of a test piece for some ceramic techniques that I've started learning recently, and it's the largest scale ceramic piece that I've made to date. And it gave me an opportunity to play with a lot of things that are a little bit more difficult when I was working in clay, but would have to mold and into a different material. So when I'm working with ceramic as the end medium, I get to play a lot more with delicate textures and sort of fineness, thinness of certain sculpture that just wouldn't be possible or wouldn't survive a molding process. And so there's something really gratifying to me about the ceramic sculpture where you're really sculpting your end result, where normally it goes through so many mutations as you cast the piece. You sort of, it feels to me normally going through the casting process like I'm ending up with a different piece than I sculpted, which is honestly a little emotionally difficult. So the ceramic process is one that I find I prefer now. And I've been sort of playing with connecting, I guess, human likeness with natural elements, and in a really basic way, just trying to look for connection to nature, which I feel like we've, sort of been removed from in a broad sense in general society. You can go to the next slide now. This is a life-size portrait, and it was done with Stan Prokopenko, who runs skill-based like anatomy, drawing, painting, figurative, sort of online school. Now it's sort of gone through mutations. He has a really great YouTube page that I know a lot of representational artists use heavily. He's a great resource, and I feel really lucky to have been able to work with him. But this is created during a tutorial I filmed with him, and then I cast it into hydrocal, and is one of my few pieces I've actually finished that's not ceramic, and so it's one that I like to show. Go to the next slide. This is another ceramic experiment. So this is in porcelain, and I was just curious about finishing porcelain. It's one of the finest clays you can use, and if you work with it well, you can actually get it so thin it can be translucent, and just the surface that's possible with porcelain is really unique. And so it's a clay that I'd like to play with more, but it's also it's really temperamental, and it's one of the hardest materials I've worked with before. And so I don't, when the next time is, I'll work in it again, but I do love the finished look. You can go to the next slide. This is a painting by a friend, Kevin Muller. His work I just think is so beautiful. He has this really moody atmospheric quality in a lot of his paintings that I just find incredibly compelling. This is a painting of his partner Maisie, and it's just a gorgeous piece. And then we could go to the following slide. This is a painting by another friend, Emily Lee. This was done in her backyard, I believe, while she was in quarantine. And she's in Southern California, and her garden is just amazing. And it's been really nice. She has a great social media presence. It's been really nice to be able to follow along with her on her process of painting these, and just sort of like a nice virtual escape from, where I am every day, to be taken along with her process and see her space. That's it for me.
Thank you. That's great, Zoe. I appreciate that. Over to Cesar.
Okay, let's start with the first slide. Okay, so this painting, it's currently on the easel. Actually, I'm working from life, so I managed to have a model posing for me for this painting during these difficult times. It was, let's say that it was a little bit delicate to bring the subject of working from life, because nowadays, we all have to be very careful with these activities, especially these ones that involves two persons in the same studio at the same time and working together. But fortunately, there are a lot of ways to make that happen. And one of the aspects of that is just to remain very patient with the other. In this case, for me, towards the model, like listening to her and what are her concerns, and also bringing a very safe environment for her and other models that I'm currently working with. So this painting in particular, I'm trying to describe not only, and I'm not gonna try to define the technical aspects of it just right now, but often I'm thinking about the importance of contemplation and also the awe that we get when we experience things directly when we are in nature, and that means outdoors. But also trying to combine those two subjects, the figure and also like a kind of a conception of nature. It's nothing new, but it's also one of the most difficult things to manage, and that is to, for an instance, to bring it to a success compositionally, and also trying to define some sort of poetry with it. And that's what I'm trying to aim with this painting, which I have to say, for the composition in the background, the landscape, it's from imagination. So I have had to make some studies, obviously trying to be or remain logic with the laws of light and physicality of nature. And it's very complex, but it's also very fun to do it, because well, I'm glad that it's not the first time to do that, but if so, it would have been just so exciting, because you have been in those places in different situations, and I'm trying to say like in the forest or in the fields, walking around, etc. So you vaguely recognize what you're trying to express. So well, right now I already did the studies, and I'm gonna start working on the piece and to figure it out if it's good or not, what I have chosen for the composition, which is right behind me. I mean, you can see the painting right over there. And I had to wait until the previous layers dried up, so I wouldn't like mess the figure. This is only the second layer of color, so I might hire the model again for one more time, one more session, and then but that's gonna be after the landscape or the rest of the composition